Hey, welcome to the Randy Karraker Show here on STL Sports Central. We are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. You see Matthew Rocchio. I'm Randy Karraker. Great to have you with us after a busy weekend of sports. A lot of good stuff happening and a lot more to come. And Matthew, first of all, we need the people to know that they can join the STL Sports Central Insiders Club, which would be pretty cool if they joined it, because there's just so much that you can get out of the Insiders Club. Bernie and I come with you every week. Bernie's writing is available to you every day, monthly giveaways for tickets and merch and stuff like that. Plus, you get ad-free reading experiences on stlsportscentral.com, and you will be supporting local independent sports media, which is cool. So we hope that you will become an STL Sports Central insider. What did you think the other night as you're watching the Bears?
One thing really quick, Randy. This week we'll be at either tomorrow, I hope tomorrow, or maybe Wednesday. We're going to have Jamal Mayers on the show, and he's going to be on, talk a little Blues hockey, and also talk a little bit more about some of those insiders events we're going to be having, including a night up at the Blues game in the alumni box with Jammer. So he's going to be on this week to talk a little bit more about that.
By the way, the Blues are kind of scuffling. They've got their Hall of Fame ceremony tonight. Barrett Jackman, Alexander Steen, and the first captain, Al Arbor, will be inducted. And you'd hope that tomorrow, with those people being honored, that there will be maybe a little bit of pride shown by the current squad. And I don't know if it's a lack of pride. I hope it's a lack of pride and not a lack of talent, because when you look at where the Blues are right now, aside from the fact that they're 5 points away from the worst record in the league and 6 points away from a playoff spot, last in the league in goals per game, 29th in goals against, 25th in power play, 28th in penalty kill, last in shots per game, middle of the pack in shots against and faceoffs. And oh, by the way, when you're last in goals and 29th of 32 in goals against, there's a pretty substantial chance that you are not going to be among the league leaders in goal differential. And the Blues not only are among the league leaders, Matthew, but they are kind of like, and we've used this analogy before, kind of like Secretariat in the Belmont in terms of where they are with their negative point differential to everybody else. It is unbelievable how bad this team is in that department. Right now, the Blues are let me get the grand total for you. They're minus 47, second worst team in the league, minus 37. So the Blues have a ways to go to catch up.
Yeah, it's it hasn't been good, and just it continues to be the same problem, which is your best players, your highest paid players, the most important players of the future of this team for the most part, aren't playing at the level that you expected of them. And the worst part is it's not even based on some ridiculous expectations. We weren't saying, oh, well, we need these people to be better than they were than this 60 game chunk from last season. And it seems just insane to think that, and I guess they weren't great for the first 20 of those 60 games, so it's only like about a half season chunk, but still, it's like we know collectively these guys can win hockey games. We know that individually a lot of these guys who aren't producing at all can produce in the NHL. And so there's this frustrating level of a lack of energy, a lack of effort, and then still kind of wondering if you had some of the actual talent levels these players pegged wrong, or if you had the longevity of their talent levels pegged wrong in some of these players' cases. And that's kind of worrisome.
Want a fun fact? The Blues have played 46 games. The Avalanche have played 44 games. The Avalanche have a difference of 127 goals in goal differential with the Blues. Colorado is a plus 80, and the Blues are a minus 47. So think about that. In, let's just say, 45 games, that's 3 goals a game in terms of goal differential for the Blues and the Avalanche, right? The Blues are, the difference is 127. So figure 45, 90, 125, right? 135. So essentially 3 goals. The Avalanche are 3 goals a game better than the Blues.
Yep, and that's that number really doesn't surprise me when you break it down like that. And it's just they're not a good team. The defense has been bad. We obviously know that there's individual talent there. I mean, everyone can acknowledge that the defense is bad, but also acknowledge that, the Broberg contract's pretty nice. Obviously, him getting cracked in the head and being concussion protocol for today isn't nice right after it happens. But everyone said, 6x8's happy. Everyone's happy. They got 2 more years than what Broberg's camp apparently originally wanted. So we're in this weird limbo where we all acknowledge it's bad, but yet we've seen enough Robert Thomas and they project enough on Philip Broberg, and we've seen enough Colton Parayko and a lot of these guys that it's just we all acknowledge something has to change, but it doesn't seem like there's a massive shift that is necessary, except every time you watch the game and there's this 5 or 6 hour buffer I have after a Blues game where I'm like, actually trading everyone might work. But then the logic hits again. And you're like, yeah, but I know these guys can play better than that. And so as long as there's some term on the contract and they're not too old, I don't want to completely pull the plug, even though, ask me after a game and I'll probably have a different immediate opinion.
Matthew, we live in the playground of the world, right? We talk sports every day. We're talking about games. So this is from our perspective. In sports, the most tragic thing is wasted talent. When somebody has the ability to be good or great and wastes that ability. And there was always a comment about the old football Cardinals, if you could put Stump Mitchell's heart in O.J. Anderson's body, because Stump did everything that he could to be great. And not that O.J. didn't play with heart, but he was just such a naturally gifted athlete that he could get away without trying as hard as some others. You see a guy like Jordan Kyrou, who has all of the ability in the world, and it is kind of a sports tragedy that he's wasting that talent by playing hard a minimal amount of the time. And if he played hard as much as Jake Neighbors or Tyler Tucker plays hard, he would be lethal. But those guys have to play hard to stay in the league. He's able to stay in the league and get the big contract based on his talent. Unfortunately, the talent is not being followed up by the hard work. And the greatest athletes, the ones that are different than everybody else, are the ones that have exceptional talent and then work hard. Here in St. Louis, Albert Pujols is a great example. Orlando Pace is an unbelievable example of somebody who's exceptionally talented and gave their all. You're looking at Tiger Woods. You're looking at Michael Jordan. You're looking at the people that have or had in their bodies exceptional God-given talent, but then did everything they could to get the most out of that talent. And it doesn't appear that the Blues have any of those guys. Buchnevich is probably, if you want to call him an offender, the worst offender of that group. He's an exceptionally gifted athlete, but he doesn't seem to try hard all the time. I think we can throw Kyrou into that boat. I just think that I don't think that Robert Thomas doesn't try hard. I don't think he applies his talents the best way that he can. We talk about him shooting more. He has a good shot. And I think his game kind of gets away from him at times. But I'm not going to accuse Robert Thomas of giving less than 100% effort. I think there are guys on this team, though, that you can say are not giving 100% effort.
Yeah, when it comes to the Blues this year, I think Monty's said that enough that we kind of have enough Monty quotes that we can kind of. I'm not calling out personally. I'm saying it's been an issue in multiple games by answer to directly by the head coach himself. So that's the issue there. That's kind of the question is I'm not really sure where they go from here, because you got to make the obvious moves. Trade Justin Falk. What may happen in the Olympics? Trade Jordan Bennington, who's got one more year after this year left on his 6-year contract. Those are pretty easy moves. But when it comes to the Colton Paraykos, who's got a couple more years on a really good term, and the Jordan Kyrous, guys who are really not performing this year to levels we know they can, who are here for the long term and on these contracts are great values. It's trickier the decision making is a lot tougher on that one, because is there a team out there that's going to give you 80 cents on the dollar for that combination of potential and value relative to what you could have gotten, when they were performing? I don't know how many teams there are right now who'd give them 80 cents on the dollar for Jordan Kyrou. And I'm not sure if the Blues are in a position right now where they would take it, or if they ever should be in a position where they should take 80 cents on the dollar for him.
And there are certain cities that Jordan Kyrou, because he has the no trade contract, certain teams that he will not go to. Why would he want to go to a place where it's minus 20 degrees? So I get it from him. By the way, on February 6th, the NHL will cease to allow trade. So the Blues have about 3 weeks before the Olympics to make a trade. And then after the Olympics conclude on February 24th, the trade deadline comes up on March 6th. So there are basically 5 weeks left to trade. You have these 3 weeks leading up to the Olympics and then the 2 weeks after the Olympics. And that's why I think that Army should get ahead of the game like he did the year that he traded O'Reilly and Tarasenko and Mikkola and Barbashev. Beat everybody else to the punch, because you're only going to have those 2 weeks to make moves once the Olympics are concluded, like the Blues when they got Ryan Miller back in 2014. Might as well do it now. See if you can find somebody that whoever you feel like you can't win with that has talent, see if you can make that deal now rather than wait until the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird spot to be in. But I'll be honest, Randy. For me, and again, this is 100% what growing up as a Rams fan did to me, which is it drove me to the draft. And if they're gonna suck, hey, suck enough to have some fun and get a top 3 pick. That's the good thing is, hey, they're at least right now on pace to be bad enough to at least take advantage of it, as long as the ping pong balls don't completely screw them.
Yep. And the Blues will host Carolina tomorrow. They'll honor Barrett Jackman before the game, and Alexander Steen and the family of Al Arbor will be there. And hopefully the Blues players will understand what they're looking at. A guy who tried hard every single night in Barrett Jackman, who was just an effort guy all the time, and a guy like Steen, who wanted to find a way to win. And for a couple of years was the Blues' best player. And as Ken Hitchcock called him, was the conscience of the team, played both ends of the ice. You've never heard that phrase uttered. And I wonder if you talk to Ken Hitchcock now, if he could find a conscience for this team, because I don't think the Blues really, among that group of players, I don't think they have that guy. Maybe Jake Neighbors is that guy where he cares so much and plays both ends of the ice so much that he can change the outcome of games. But the thing was, Steiner had the skill. Steiner had the ability to play that defensive game. And I just don't think that Jake Neighbors is ready for that game. The Blues don't have a guy like Alexander Steen right now, and that's hurting them.
Yeah, that's not. And the thing is I don't know if any of these young guys have that. The guys who kind of, we've seen it before. Shen will always get in a fight when he needs them. Probably going to be dealt if which would be better for the franchise overall. So hey, there's a role for a young player that doesn't just involve scoring goals and getting assists. Let's see if somebody can step into it.
Compete, try hard, right?
Damn
That's
right.
not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's touch on baseball. During the Bears game in Chicago on Saturday night, the Chicago Cubs announced that they had signed Alex Bregman to a 5-year contract worth $175 million. First of all, probably not the best timing to announce a trade like that when you are in a city where it's a Bears town. The Cubs are very popular. They're probably number 2. But during a Bears playoff game, in the midst of a rally against Green Bay, your biggest rival, the Cubs announced that Alex Bregman was going to come to the Cubs. I'm guessing, Matthew, that if they still have newspapers in Chicago, they have the Tribune and the Sun-Times, I'm guessing that if the Bregman news made it to the paper, that it was a blurb. And I would guess even online, if you get the Tribune online or the Sun-Times online, it was all Bears stuff and then a little nugget about the Cubs signing Bregman. Not that people wouldn't find out about it because it was all over the national news, but it is kind of weird timing in that town to announce it then rather than Sunday or today.
Yeah, the Cubs not having a great grasp on regular person reality is one of the least shocking things in the world. Organization, they're completely out of touch with the average fan. Doesn't surprise me at all. What?
Biblical losses.
Yeah, biblical losses. Exactly.
Now,
you know exactly where I'm going with it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. So stupid. I have a lot of friends up in Chicago, and there's all of them not even connected to this thought. Just they were posting, and a lot of them were saying it's like, I don't think people understand how much a good Bears team actually moves Chicago.
It's unbelievable.
And yeah, and it really is. I mean, I don't know. I would wonder. I mean, nothing more. Probably just like overall, the Bears being good is probably second in like the history of Chicago, just behind Michael Jordan's Bulls.
So I had a buddy at 101 who was selling Rams here when they were here at 101 ESPN, and went to Chicago and started selling the Bears. When he was selling the Rams here, it was for $350 a minute per commercial. When he went to Chicago, it was $6,500 a minute on the radio per commercial. And this was, well, 10 years ago today was the day that the Rams left. So this must have been probably 2010 when we got the Rams at 101 ESPN. So we're probably talking 15 years ago that they were getting $6,500 a minute, 14 or 15 years ago, $6,500 a minute for Bears spots on the radio, and $350 here. So they are all in on the Bears in Chicago, no question about it.
Do you think any single Jordan season like was like per capita, like, or like for per inflation bigger than 85?
I can't imagine. No,
really.
The 85 Bears, no, as huge
that
as
shocks the hell out of me.
The 85 Bears were the biggest thing to ever happen to Chicago. They're still living off of that. That's their only Super Bowl championship. It was 50 years ago now, 40 years ago. And it's unbelievable. Low, 85, 95, 05, 15, 20. Yeah, 40 years ago. No, that's still, and probably always will be, the biggest team, because that team was loaded with characters. Matthew, here's the thing. You've got like a 53-man roster. Literally every single player on the Bears roster had a radio show. Every one of them.
So, and I mean, heck, that proves my friend's points. People don't understand how Chicago moves when the Bears are good, and so yeah, that's a really good point. That I'm sure that it was behind like a story about the special teams for the Bears, probably on the paper, but it reverberated here in St. Louis, and potentially for a couple of reasons.
Well, no doubt about it. And one of the things it does, I think, it puts the Cubs in the conversation of elite teams in the National League. And the Dodgers are head and shoulders above everybody else. But then you've got the Brewers, you've got the Phillies, you've got the Braves, you might have the Mets, you might have the Padres. But with a team that has Justin Steele coming back, and it's got Horton coming back, and you've got Boyd, and you've got Tyone, and you've got Imanaga, and you've got Colin Ray, and you've got Assad, you're loaded in the starting pitching department. They have fixed their bullpen. They've loaded up on relievers this year. And now, however they want to set up their lineup, it's going to be Carson Kelly, who's turned into an offensive force behind the plate, Bregman, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, and Michael Busch, who had, I think, 29 home runs last year. He's your first baseman. And then in the outfield, you've got Suzuki. You've still got Ian Happ. You've still got PCA. They've got a really good lineup. They could use an impact DH on that team. I don't think they need it, but I think the Cubs are, and a great manager in Craig Counsell, I think the Cubs are one of the elite teams now in the National League because of the addition of Bregman. So that's part of it, the on-field part. I think this, if anybody was dreaming of the Cardinals, having a magical year and being able to contend, I think they could have contended with the Cubs before the last week, before they got Cabrera, and I didn't even mention him, and Bregman. I think now the Cardinals are miles behind the Cubs and the Brewers. But the other thing it does, as you mentioned, is how does this affect the Cardinals with Bregman being off of the table and Marte being off of the table as they try to move both Brendan Donovan and Nolan Arenado? I still don't think the Cardinals are going to get anything for Arenado in terms of players back, Matthew. I don't know if you think if that's changed for you. I think the Cardinals are going to have to give up money to get rid of Nolan Arenado's contract. And I don't think they can expect any value in terms of performance or players back in return. Donovan is the opposite. The Cardinals don't have to give up any money because Donovan is at a reasonable price. And my thought is that what you're looking for, if you're the Cardinals, is the best player return that you can get. And you don't have to trade Brendan Donovan. I think that's, we might have gotten into that thought process and talked about that. But the Cardinals have always said, hey, if we're going to move Brendan Donovan, we're going to have to be blown away. And clearly they haven't been yet. Otherwise, they would move him. But if the Cardinals play opening day with Donovan at third and Weatherholt at second, I know that they are very happy with Brendan Donovan being a player on their team and being their leadoff hitter. So we've reached the point now on January 12th where I would not be surprised if Brendan Donovan were here on opening day.
Yeah. So would you be surprised if Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, and Nolan Arenado are all here on opening day?
I would be surprised if Arenado was. I still think the Cardinals will find a way to get rid of Nolan Arenado.
Okay.
I'm not sure Lars Nootbaar will be available to the Cardinals on opening day after the heel surgery. I think you can guarantee that he will be a member of the Cardinal organization because he's probably not going to be able to play during spring training. He might be able to play the last week or so of spring training to be ready for opening day, but I don't think the Cardinals will move. I don't think he'll pass a physical for another team before the season starts. And the other part of this, and let's go back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. When the Cardinals were putting together their offseason, they didn't think they would be able to get rid of Wilson Contreras. So if you don't have Lars Nootbaar, if he can play on opening day and you don't have him, you move Burleson to left, and then as your first baseman, Herrera. And if Burleson's at first and you don't have Nootbaar, who's your left fielder?
For me?
Yeah, no. That's not happening. The Cardinals, they played Jose Fermin last year, but that doesn't mean they thought he was a good player.
I think
there's zero chance of Fermin playing and starting on opening day for the Cardinals.
There's still a right-handed hitting outfielder that's going to get signed. So whoever that is, he plays left field.
Okay. And by the way, that player is like a guy like Harrison Bader is looking for $10 million. Cardinals aren't signing a $10 million right-handed hitting outfielder.
No, they're not. Maybe it's Nathan Church.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Bernie's apparently kind of up on him. I haven't watched the video, but I saw a comment that Bernie's got a little positivity about Church because he hit in college, he hit at every level of the minors.
I would be stunned if Nathan Church showed the Cardinals enough in spring training after his major league performance last year if he would be their opening day left fielder. I would be stunned.
Skyboy says, I love this. Skyboy, according to ESPN, the projected win total is 73.5. Take the over or under, Randy. What do you want?
I think they're like a 74-75 win team. So I would go with the over.
Yeah, I'd be sitting just above the over. I'm really hoping Vegas for some reason makes it like 77.5 because I'd love.
Here's a thing.
House on
is there were people on the interwebs, on the social media over the weekend that were panning the signing of Ryne Stanek. Why would you not like the Cardinals signing a pitcher? I don't get that.
I can't believe there's people who didn't like that.
Huh?
I'm with you. I can't believe there's people who didn't like that.
Yeah. Well, number one, you don't know if he's going to be able to pitch well or not. This is a guy that has in 30 postseason games, sub-3 earned run average. He's been effective in the postseason. He could easily be what Phil Maton was last year, and as much as performance
right there
that the Cardinals are looking for. And we've mentioned this. They had Kittredge 2 years ago. They have Maton last year. This is a really young, really inexperienced bullpen. When you have Riley O'Brien and you have our guy, the new closer, number 49, entering the bullpen.
Good Lord Almighty. I had it in my head, and
that's Fonson.
There you go. Wanted to say
you just don't have any guys down there with real significant major league experience. And over the years, in talking to people like Jason Isringhausen and Adam Wainwright and Brad Thompson and Randy Flores, those young relievers from the 2006 World Championship team always talked about the things that Jason Isringhausen was able to provide them in terms of knowledge, in terms of learning how to be a relief pitcher. By the way, Waino and Thompson had been starting pitchers throughout the course of their career. And there's also something to be said for learning how to properly warm up and learning how to prepare yourself mentally before a game and then during a game to come into a game. Ryne Stanek has been through all of that, and he is going to be really valuable to these young Cardinal relievers. This was suggested to me in talking about this, in asking, hey, do you need a guy like that? One executive said, yeah, you need an adult down there in the bullpen. And I think that that's the guy that the Cardinals got in Stanek. And I don't see why somebody would say, yeah, that's a bad move, because you don't know what you're getting out of a lot of these guys. I don't know why people would not like that move. It's not like, Matthew, the Dodgers going out and getting Edwin Diaz because they didn't have a reliever for a team that's capable of winning a world championship. It's not like even the Orioles going out and signing Ryan Helsley to a multi-year big money contract, because they also added a couple of other guys. They added an outfielder, and they added Pete Alonso. So I don't think the Cardinals are in the position of a lot of teams. Maybe people just haven't come to grips with the fact yet that the Cardinals are not going to be great in 2026, like they haven't been great for the last couple of years. But they also want to grow, and Stanek is a guy that they hope can help some of these young players grow. And let me just get the number of games in the career of Ryne Stanek, he's like 34, right?
Yeah, 34, yeah. I really, I mean, for me, the first thing that jumped out to me, obviously he's a solid reliever. He's got velo. He's a big dude, throws hard. Sometimes he gets hit hard, but he's had some born in St. Louis, exactly. He's had some great years in his career. He's had some ones where he's getting hit hard. That's just the nature of the beast when you are a power pitcher the way he is. But for me, what jumped out is that they built the contract. One of the other pitchers they've signed, was it Fry? One of the other pitchers they signed is almost the money's not the same, but the structure is, which is the 1 year deal, and then you have the extension. That's an option. I mean, you have the option for the second year. That's a big bump in pay. And I read that as being built to be a tradable contract, because if he has a huge start to the year, not only is it tradable, but you're then giving him to a team who is, if he does have a big year, is now saying, especially if it's a big market team that's running for a World Series like the Dodgers, say he has a good run with them after you trade him, and now they're saying, oh, we'll pick up that option. That's $6 million. That's chump change for us, for a righty who can throw 95, who just worked for us in a playoff run. We'll give him that extension. So they built the same one. I'm trying to figure out which one of the other contracts they signed with the pitcher this year was also just built like this, which is small money this year, and there's an option on the back end for a raise. Those contracts are built to be traded. This is the Phil Maton of 2026. Smart move, smart deal, get a body, move him at the deadline.
Yeah. A couple of other quick notes about Ryne Stanek. Chaim Bloom obviously was with him in Tampa. And Matthew, you will appreciate this, being the analytics guy that you are. But Stanek was one of the first openers ever in baseball too. So I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, is if the Cardinals decide to go that way and have an opener, then Ryne Stanek he might be your guy.
Yeah, and then Aaron D. and also Wilson in the text hit me. Yeah, the Dustin May contract is what I'm thinking of. 1 year, right. $12 million this year, with an option for next year, a mutual of $20 million. So again, if he pops for a whole season, now you're not just selling him off as a 1 year, as a 3-month rental. You're selling him off as a rental who, if he pays out, has a nice little deal baked in right there for this team. And usually you're thinking we're trading him probably to the Dodgers or the Phillies or the Yankees or the Mets. These teams are all teams that are playing with freaking fun money anyhow. They don't care about an $8 million bump for Dustin May. They don't care about a $4 million bump for Ryne Stanek. Makes sense. It's a smart move. these are the little moves you have to make as you're rebuilding, because they get you prospects on the back end, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Ryne Stanek, June 7th, 2018, started for Tampa Bay, went 1 inning. And then on June 12th, 2018, started for Tampa Bay, went 2 innings. And then on the 16th, started for Tampa Bay, went 1 1/3. And then on the 18th, started for Tampa Bay, went 2 innings. Then on June 22nd, started for Tampa Bay, went 1 inning. So let's see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starts in June of 2018 for the Tampa Bay Rays as an opener.
Okay.
So that's what Cardinals need. Here's
have a little fun. Have an opener. I like this.
Yeah. Can I give you one other thing? I'm so glad that we didn't have social media in 2003, because I can't imagine how many people would have complained on social media about the Cardinals signing the injured Chris Carpenter in 2003. Right?
Randy, just telling a big fat story about yourself. Somebody wasn't cool enough to be on MySpace in 2003, and that's okay, Randy. That's okay.
But
that's okay. It's okay.
We're on MySpace though.
I was trying to figure out why I wasn't
ripping the Chris Carpenter, just panning the Chris Carpenter signing, saying, "Oh, they're stupid. This is ridiculous."
There were forums that I'm sure if we went back and found them, there were dregs of the internet where people were bitching about the Cardinals' big move being a pitcher who was injured. I can almost guarantee you, with the knowledge of what was going on the internet in 2003, that yes, people were complaining about it, and they're the same people that are complaining now.
So, Skyboy, your Facebook comments are the best. Is that me? We talking about me?
I think he's talking about the channels.
FaceTube. Oh, okay.
Or maybe I really do enjoy your responses to people's to our on our channel. Your responses to people on our Facebook is absolutely hilarious.
Good. Samuel Howe, I like this one. We ripped Walt. Don't worry, Randy.
See, this is what I'm saying.
There you go.
It's been there the whole time.
Yeah. MySpace hasn't been shut down, just forgotten by most of the planet.
I think it actually did.
I wonder if you can still start could I finally start a MySpace account?
I think it actually did get close. I think they actually did shut her down at some point.
Okay.
Greg Lewis, I don't know whether Holt comes out of spring training as a starter, especially since Donovan may still be there.
I think the Cardinals, it's incumbent upon them to not have Nolan Arenado on opening day. And I think that Donovan would probably move to third and Weatherholt would probably move to second base. Or if, as you suggested, Lars Nootbaar might not be available on opening day to play left, maybe you play Donovan in left and Gorman is your third baseman.
Yeah, you can certainly do that. We had a lot of comments about this on one of our videos in the channel, so I'll do some due diligence to the listeners here. Samuel House says Walker should start in AAA unless his drive time work shows this spring. There's a lot of comments I've seen from a couple different people who are talking about, not a couple different people, like about a handful of people, I'd say, who are asking why we never comment about Walker starting the season in AAA. And I've never thought about it because I think it sounds like a non-starter and I can't imagine it'll ever happen, but
that's why
Howe brings it up.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I've been told that the biggest 3 months of Jordan Walker's career are going to be April, May, and June of 2026. The Cardinals probably give him to the All-Star break, and he's in sink or swim land. And they aren't going to find anything out about Jordan Walker at AAA. They don't need to teach him anything else. What they need to do is for him to listen to coaching, become consistent, not change his approach whenever things go bad every 2 weeks. He needs to be the same guy that he is on opening day, that he is in game 7, that he is in game 35, that he is in game 58, that he is in game 61. He needs to become more consistent with his approach. That means laying off the slider low and away. A lot of guys have trouble doing that. That means being more selective and taking a few more walks, which he knows about. And that also means that he just can't decide, okay, well, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm going to go back to what I did before. Because a lot of times guys go back to what they did before and it works. It hasn't for Jordan Walker. And then the other part of it is, as Brant Brown said on KMOX last year down the stretch, hey, this guy needs to prepare for all of the pitchers on the opposing team before he gets to the ballpark. He needs to do more homework. And so they're going to find out at the major league level whether or not Walker is capable of doing that for the first 3 months of 2026. If he doesn't, then Baez could be here. Nootbaar could move to right. There are a lot of different things the Cardinals could do. Maybe Nathan Church gets an opportunity. But the last best chance for Jordan Walker to prove himself as a major league player is going to come in the first half of the 26 season. That's why they aren't going to learn that, Matthew, and we all know that, right? They aren't going to learn about him at AAA. They need to find out what he is as a major league player.
Fair enough. Do you think that is the exact same timeline for Nolan Gorman in 2026 as well?
I don't think so, because Gorman has done it at this level before. Yep. People might not think that hitting 27 home runs in 406 at-bats is a big deal, but to a lot of people in baseball and a lot of people within the Cardinal organization, that was a big deal. They know it's there. That's the difference with he and Walker. With Walker, they don't even know if it's there. They thought it was when he was a prospect, but they still don't know. With Gorman, he came up and hit the 27 home runs. And it's a matter of him, again, being more consistent, being more selective. He did take more walks last year. His walk rate was a little bit better, still not great. But after he got hot for a good portion of June and first part of July, came back from the injury last year, he fell into the same old strikeout habits. And that's what the Cardinals want him to do, is to cut down on the strikeouts. And they're convinced, and I am too, by the way, that if Gorman hits the ball, it's going to be hit hard and leave the ballpark. He has that God-given ability to hit the ball hard. It goes when he hits it, and they just need him to hit it more. So I think he'll get more of an opportunity simply because he's shown that if he hits it, it goes. He's got light tower power, man. It's he has hit some massive home runs, and even if he doesn't hit it well, he can still hit it out of ballparks, even Busch Stadium, which is another factor to have in mind here. He hits it hard enough so that he can even hit home runs at Busch.
That's the big thing you got to walk away with. He can even do it at Busch Stadium. Wow-wee. That says a lot about the power.
Yeah. Yep. We've seen it. No doubt about it.
Samuel Howe, we need that rookie of the year draft pick, so he has to make the opening day roster. He's talking, of course, about JJ Wetherholt.
Wetherholt on opening day.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Win rookie of the year, get the draft pick, and keep on building. And I don't have any problem, because I know what the Cardinals want to do. I don't have a problem getting draft choices. As a matter of fact, even like last year when they got the Baez kid, who I like a lot, from the Mets, if the Cardinals would have wound up getting a draft choice, if they draft well, which they have under Randy Flores, they will be able to stock that system. And what they want to do is just keep churning out prospects. And at some point, Matthew, what they'll do is they'll have enough good players on their major league roster and enough good players at their minor league roster that they're ready to supplement a young major league team with a stud veteran. And the way you do that is by having a lot of prospects to trade. That's how, as an example, when the Red Sox decided to trade Mookie Betts, that's how it happened. When the Tigers decided to trade Justin Verlander, that's how it happened. The Astros had prospects to trade. When the Cubs wanted to go out and get Aroldis Chapman, that's how they did it. When Seattle wanted to go out and get Luis Castillo, they traded prospects. That is the greatest currency right now to get a great player in baseball, is to have a really good system with a host of good prospects.
Craig Lewis says here, talking about Gorman. Gorman needs to show his RIF rate going down, not up. I just want to pull up Gorman's numbers here so that we can all look at them and have some fun here. So right here, you see it. Obviously, strikeout levels spikes in 2024 to 38%, gets it down to 33% this past season. Based on ball level, down to 8.5 in 2024, back up to a career high 11.7, but he obviously has to balance those out with a career low home run percentage. Can he find the balance between those two things? That's a big question there. He also had his second highest line drive percentage of the year, got the ground ball percentage down a little bit, and got the fly ball percentage down just a tad bit as well. So a lot of good numbers overall for Nolan Gorman last year. Hence why I think the Cardinals and us to a point are willing to see what he's got this year before pulling the plug.
And he still needs to bring that strikeout rate way down, like 9%. 25% for a good power hitter is acceptable. 33.8% is not acceptable as a strikeout rate for any hitter that isn't named. Who do you want to name? Any Mark Reynolds, who hit 40 home runs on a regular basis. Even Schwarber. Can you quickly grab what Schwarber is right now in terms of strikeout rate? Because I think his strikeout rate has come down to what we would call an acceptable percentage. And obviously the homers and the walks and the on base and the OPS for Schwarber are fine.
Yes. Kyle Schwarber's strikeout percentage was actually one of his lowest of his career this year at 27.2%.
There you go.
And his walk rate was almost 15%.
Yeah. So there you go. That's acceptable. That's what you want Nolan Gorman to get to. We don't know if he can, but if he does, I think he can be a 30, 35 home run guy who gets on base and has a reasonable OPS. I think his OPS in the year he hit 27 home runs, was his OPS 802? I don't have the number in
805.
805?
Yeah.
So he can do it, you know. It's just a matter of
he's got to get that strikeout rate below 30, because
this is why
Schwarber's always had it below 30 pretty much.
Yeah. This is why you need to get rid of Arenado, because you need to find out whether or not this guy is capable of doing it on a day-to-day basis. And if you have Nolan Arenado playing every day, which, as we've mentioned, if you're going to have him here, a Hall of Famer, paying him a lot of money, if you're going to have him, you have to pay him. And I just think that the Cardinals would be better off long-term finding out about Gorman than going down the line and seeing the end of a Hall of Fame career.
We got this. Craig Lewis, there's no doubt he has power. He just needs to get that barrel rate up. Yeah, I'm with him on that. And I like this from Cole Bassett's left foot. I would be satisfied to see the Cards' top prospects get plenty of playing time in 26 and damn the win-loss record. How many people in St. Louis do you think agree with that sentiment?
That's a great question. I don't think
give me a percentage of the Cardinals fan base that you think agrees with that sentiment.
Well, here's the thing. The horse is already out of the barn. So if we would have gone back to last year and the Cardinals would have tried to sign a bunch of players, but what'd they win? 78 games last year? 78 and 85, something like that?
78 and 84.
The same. Go ahead.
78 wins, sorry.
78. If they would have won 78 games with a veteran team, I think people would have still been upset about that. But here's the thing. If you sign and have a higher payroll and you sign guys, but you still don't have enough to make the playoffs, this was my argument with Sonny Gray, then what is the point? I would rather have a young team that doesn't make the playoffs and has a chance to get better than a veteran high-priced team that doesn't make the playoffs and is not going to get substantially better. And I think we all know the Cardinals aren't going to be the Dodgers or the Mets or even what the Padres were. That's just not the way they're going to roll. So they're going to get the mid-level free agents, and it's just not going to happen with those guys. The only way for a franchise like the Cardinals, with where they are in terms of revenue, to get great players is to draft and develop and maybe get lucky on a trade that they make, or draft a guy like Weatherholt that falls to them and hope that he turns into a great player. They're not ever going to sign an Ohtani or a Soto or even a Bregman. They're going to sign Bregman for $35 million a year. It's just not going to happen. So we just have to look at this approach. The closest the Cardinals came was when they traded for both Goldschmidt and then a couple of years later for Arenado, and that didn't work. So they're trying a new approach, and I think this approach is, with this ownership, here to stay. And you just can't bet on a franchise like this being able to go out and get the big time, big money players. It's just not going to happen. Now, one thing you can bet on.
I was going to say, you said betting in big money. I think I know what's coming. I think I know what's coming.
I'll tell you what, I got a nice little over under here for this game tonight between the the Steelers and the Texans, 38.5. And I think this game is going under. And I think this is a great over-under, but I'm going with the under in this game tonight. And Matthew, one of the things you can do if you are in Missouri is spend $300 to get $300 in betting credits when you join DraftKings. And all you need to do is download the app and use that code right there, STL Sports, and you can be one of the people that makes great money tonight when you bet the under on this game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans. It's playoff time. What a great time of year to participate in DraftKings and just have a great time. And obviously, we want you to be responsible, but it'll change the way you watch the game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And you need to join DraftKings in partnership with STL Sports Central.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or call ccbg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, call dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
I like that number, Randy. I like that number, and I like the under because this morning when I saw Grant Salzman, I said, I'm thinking 27-9 tonight for your boys there. And that would get us at a nice clean 36 under that 38.5. So I like that under tonight.
Good play. Football. I think that'll be a good play.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to a few more comments. And then Matthew's got an interesting note from our friends at The Athletic too. But there's still, is DK back tonight? Yes. DK Metcalf is playing in tonight's game. But Houston, with that great defense, I wonder if Aaron Rodgers finishes this game.
I hope he does. Let's get Aaron Rodgers one more full game out there, and then he can ride off into the sunset or the darkness, whatever he does.
Yeah. Let's see. I was looking last night, and you can get tickets for April, $10 bleacher seats or $40 behind the dugout. Yeah, that's just the way things are going with the Cardinals right now, isn't it? The demand and supply is different than it was a decade ago or even 5 years ago. And one of the things the Cardinals have admitted they need to do is change the habits of the customer back to what it was. People have gotten out of the habit of going to Cardinal games over the last few years, and the Cardinals have to find a way, if they're going to succeed at a high level and not be the Reds or the Pirates, they're going to have to find a way to get people to come back to the ballpark. Obviously, the best way to do that is to win, but there's more to it. They need to convince people that it's safe to go downtown. Ticket prices have to be reasonable. Parking has to be reasonable. There's a lot of things I think that the Cardinals need to put in place, Matthew, for fans to come back to the level that they were coming for, 25, 28 years when the Cardinals drew those 3 million every year.
I mean, winning always helps. It wasn't the only reason. I know there's a lot of loyal fans out there who showed up even when they weren't winning, but wasn't a lot of seasons where they weren't winning, where they were showing up like that. And, because, hey, you got to put a product out there for people to buy it, especially with the way things are going right now in the world. And so I can't blame people for not going. I champion those who still go, but obviously I think the Cardinals know that they have to improve it. And I think, that's why, they've brought new people in, they've gotten some new ideas, and we know that's one big thing that the Cardinals need if they're going to, make a change, make a jump and make a leap and finally, stop following and, become the one of the paramount franchises in baseball again.
By the way, for those of you that are asking and wondering about the Cardinals general Pobo, Chaim Bloom, although I guess he's the general manager now, and also their manager, our buddy Greg Amsinger. And if you haven't watched the interview yet at STL Sports Central on YouTube, you can watch it. But on Friday night, Greg is going to have a sit down with Chaim Bloom and Ollie Marmol, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions. Just go to luboxoffice.com for tickets if you'd like to join Greg. It starts at 6:00. It'll be over by 8:30 on Friday night at the Scheidegger Theater at Lindenwood University. Proceeds, by the way, go to the Lindenwood Athletic Department, but a great opportunity for you, maybe your first opportunity to actually ask a question of Chaim Bloom. There are going to be Lindenwood students in the audience carrying around microphones. So if you'd like to ask a question of the Cardinals Pobo or their manager, Ali Marmal, you can do so by attending Greg's dinner on Friday night at Lindenwood. That'll be pretty cool.
Got this from, before we close out with some Cardinals thoughts, Corey Land jumps in with a little Billikens thought. Are Billikens still not ranked? Not that it really matters. We were up to a 7 seed on CBS bracketology. Yes, they came in at essentially the +1 spot, 26th in the country right now. Got like 90 something odd votes for the AP poll, but some teams still kicking them out. The main one, undefeated Miami, Ohio, is in the top 25 for their first time in like 30 or 40 years. So the Billikens still just outside the top 25 looking in. They have 2 matchups this weekend, including Fordham on Wednesday evening. Get tickets. It's going to be a great game.
And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check here unless it's changed today. I think the all-important NCAA net ranking.
Oh, they're doing good.
Like 23rd, is that right?
Yeah, that's where it was last time I checked.
Then Ken Palm has them at 34. I take more stock in those, especially the net ranking, because that's what the committee uses when they place teams in the field and when they seed teams. They use the NCAA net ranking. So I really take more stock in that, Matthew, than I do in the AP poll. And Lenardi is great. Yeah, 21 now in the net ranking. So that's pretty important. By the way, how about this, Matthew? Net ranking. St. Louis 21. Number 22 is Kansas. Number 23 is North Carolina.
Yeah, Kansas was the 27th ranked team essentially by the AP poll based on votes. So wow. Yeah, Kansas just outside after struggling. They got a star player, but he doesn't really care to play basketball for Kansas, which is
like it. No, but he'll get first pick draft, won't he?
Probably top 3. I think there's a European who's supposed to be really good. I mean, I might be a year or 2 off on when he's supposed to hit, but potentially. Okay. Eric Letford, from 2000 to 2022, the Cardinals won with not a big payroll. Why not have the same payroll, DeWitt? If you can not afford a baseball team, sell it. I don't want to hear about market size. I'm not going to tell you about market size, but I am going to tell you they had like $178 to $180 million payroll at different times in that span from 2019 to 2022 or 2023. And they were getting $60 million or so from TV. And now they are very much not. And so if you think that's
3 million fans, and this past year, they drew about 1.1 million fewer fans, which is for $50 per person that goes through the gates. That's another 50 million. So you're talking about 110 million that they had in 2022. And oh, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, they were paying Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt pretty good money at that time, veteran players. And they did get a bargain on Albert Pujols for $2.5 million that year. It's hard to get that sort of production for $2.5 million every year.
Yeah. So it's just like, again, if you think that every billionaire is going to go into the red on baseball teams, facts don't prove out that point's going to be correct. And if you don't think that a business can lose a ton of revenue and then not change their payroll, I want to go into business with you.
I want to work for them.
Let's talk. Let me know who you're thinking of. Let me know if they have any openings. I'll get a resume in.
Yeah, no doubt, because we went through it and they quit paying us when the revenue went down, didn't they?
Yeah, and if you're DeWitt to this point, if you're DeWitt, or if you're Triple Sticks and you see this, to Skyboy's point, they ran the same payroll the last 4 years and they weren't really winning. I mean, the payroll fluctuated anywhere from like 130 to 180 over the last 4 years, and they didn't bring in a lot of playoff dollars alongside that. So if you were a consulting person who came in and looked at the Cardinals books, you'd probably be like, well, I mean, not really doing much here with it, are you?
Matthew, to your point, if the Cardinals would have kept Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras and re-signed Paul Goldschmidt to play first base this year, and then had Contreras DH or something like that, and then kept Arenado at third. Are just because they're paying those guys, is this going to be a better team?
No, pretty much not.
I don't think so. So
it's not
payroll
not going to
equate to quality of play, unfortunately.
All right, one little thing, and I might be this might just be like a a casualty of where we're at, where I'm just like looking for anything to react to. But I want to draw everyone's attention to this little blurb from one of these is going to make me tiny, but I'm okay with that. This little blurb here from The Athletic. Don't worry, do not look at the man behind the curtain or in the corner. Donovan, who turns 29 this month, offers many appealing qualities, from his swing decisions to his bat to ball skills, his defensive versatility to his makeup. But his career best F4 achieved in 2024 was 3.2. Horner, speaking of Nico, was at 4.8 last year. Marte, Ketel, was at 4.6, the latter in only 126 games. This is from The Athletic, breaking down kind of the news around baseball and why maybe Donovan isn't getting moved before some of these players who are slightly more valuable. They went on to say, Donovan is also under club control for only 2 more seasons, the second of which is threatened by a lockout. The Kansas City Royals remain among the teams interested, but, and this is what jumped out to me, if the Cardinals prefer premium young bats, the Seattle Mariners are perhaps the best fit. So then I asked the question that is in the headline, Randy Karraker, have we been talking about the wrong prospects when it comes to Senja and the pitchers up in Seattle?
No, as we've said, things changed with the Contreras trade, because when the Cardinals were able to get 2 more young pitchers, Dobbins and then the A-ball prospect, the 19-year-old from Boston, what they were looking for Donovan was exactly what they got for Contreras. They were looking for a guy to plug in their major league rotation and a really hot prospect. They weren't planning on being able to trade Contreras and get something for him. The flexibility offered by the Contreras trade now allows the Cardinals to seek a bat if they like. I'm sure that if they have a higher rated pitcher than hitter for Donovan, everything else being equal, they would take the pitcher. But now, at that point, they were averse maybe to taking a young hitter because they have so many hitters that they still have to evaluate. They've got the 2 Baez's. They've got all the guys here on the major league roster. I think now they might be more willing to just broaden their horizons in regards to getting a guy. By the way, I don't think Horner's going anywhere. I don't think Marte is going anywhere. And we know Marte, right? The Diamondbacks already said that Marte isn't going anywhere. Yeah. So I don't think we've been talking about the wrong prospects. I think the landscape of making a Donovan deal has changed. And so the type of prospect that you're looking for has changed. It used to be not too long ago, months ago, the Cardinals were all in on getting young pitching. I think they feel reasonably good about their young pitching now, that they would take the best prospect available in a Brendan Donovan trade. And as we've mentioned, and we said it even on this show, unless that prospect is a guy that overwhelms the Cardinals with his quality, they just won't make the deal. They'll keep him.
Yeah, and I wonder if, to your point, maybe we switched over from Durangelo Senja, the switch pitcher, being the main piece. Lazaro Montez, who's the big 6'5", 220-pound left-handed monster corner outfielder. I have a feeling, something tells me if they were offering him, that deal would have gotten done already. So DePoto likes to make trades, but something tells me the sticking point here is that DePoto wants to give the Cardinals like 2 or 3 prospects, and the Cardinals are trying to break off the big piece, and the Mariners just aren't biting.
And that's fine. If they don't want to, the Cardinals can have Brendan Donovan for this year, and if somebody desires to come and get him and overwhelm the Cardinals, that's fine. And if they keep him and they want to trade him next offseason, they can do that. And if there's a 27 and he's still an all-star quality player and still a Silver Slugger finalist and still a former Gold Glove Award winner, they could trade him for a stretch run in 27 too. There's nothing wrong with having Brendan Donovan on your team. He's a really good player. Not a great player, but a really good player. And I think if you watch him play every day and are willing to throw F-WAR out the window and say, okay, is that guy going to help me win ball games? I think any rational fan that watches a lot of ball, that watches Brendan Donovan play, realizes that he helps you win ball games.
Yeah, that's fair. And just, looking at that quote again, if they're looking for young bats, a couple different, 4 or 5 young outfielders in the top half of the Mariners system. They got some middle infielder as well. They don't really have any other big bats like Montez. I mean, I guess They have a single A 19-year-old shortstop who is 6'4", 200 pounds. That's I don't hate the idea of that kid getting added into the
Always
organization.
remember this,
Nice
Matthew.
piece. That's a
Always
nice
remember
piece.
this. Tommy Herr in 1985 drove in 110 runs while hitting 8 homers. Switch hitter, really good hitter. Okay. And Whitey Herzog always made this point.
But we
during the
know
course of that.
we know what teams are looking for, Randy.
But 6'4", 220 doesn't mean you're a power hitter.
You're
That's
right.
my point.
That's fair.
Tommy Herr was the exact same size as Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle hit 536 home runs. Tommy Herr didn't even hit 100. So just because a guy is 6'4" and 220 doesn't mean that he is a power hitter. And just because a guy is 5'10" and 185 doesn't mean he's not a power hitter.
I was more just a 19-year-old at 6'4", 200 pounds who plays shortstop tells me the kid's an athlete. That's what that's all I'm going off of.
Well, we used to have a 6'5", 220-pound athletic third baseman, didn't we?
Yeah.
And now he's a 6'5" athletic 220-pound right fielder.
There you go.
So,
They would have
all
to
right.
move him from shortstop, so I guess that would be potentially problematic. Fair enough.
That's the Randy Karraker Show. I'm going to the Blues Hall of Fame induction tonight. Congratulations to Barrett Jackman, Alexander Steen, and Al Arbor. Al Arbor was in addition to being the first captain of the Blues, in my young fandom, he was also the coach of the Blues, and I really enjoyed it when he was the coach. He passed away a few years ago, but his family will be here as Al Arbor, who won 4 Stanley Cups as the head coach of the New York Islanders, is inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. It'll be great.
That'll be awesome. Blues always do those kind of nights right. They always do the ceremonies right. Like you said earlier at the beginning of the show, hopefully the message carries onto the ice.
Yep. That's Matthew. Wilson got us on the air. We appreciate you being a part of the Randy Karraker Show, and we will see you next time. We are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. So long, everybody.